The opinions expressed here are exclusively those of CG Sense. No brand affiliations, free products, or affiliate marketing are associated with this video.
Alright, so for a week straight I put on 6 sprays of Bois Imperial, 2 to the chest, 2 to each wrist. These atomizers, they seem like a pretty average strength. I actually like the sprayer on these. And this stuff, I mean, before I get into this video, to me this is a masterpiece, like objectively speaking. Like, I feel like this fragrance really hits on all barriers. Good performance, creative, well made, at least to my nose. And just, honestly, it just really strikes a fine line between something totally out of the box, something totally that I could see myself wearing, especially to like an office space. And it's very interesting with this fragrance because I was talking to some fragrance buddies of mine, and they think that this is really boring. That was like a common criticism I heard of it. They just felt like it was uninspired, dull, not really special. And at least to my nose, this is actually one of the more special perfumes I tried in a while. In other words, it's like really unique, really complex, really hard to describe the experience it gives me, and it's just not like anything else that I've tried before. But this is also, in my opinion, a challenging scent. I don't think of it as boring at all. I think this is one that's definitely not for everybody. There's certain aroma chemicals in this and components, things like akigala wood and ambroxan, that could rub some people the wrong way. And also the fragrance overall, I've been reading online that some people say it's synthetic. And I get where they're coming from. It doesn't really paint a natural picture. I don't think that the materials in this smell cheap or synthetic in that sense, but the whole fragrance almost has this kind of synthetic smell good thing going on with how it presents itself. But some people might find this headache inducing. They might find the synthetic nature of what it's producing just totally not for them. Some people might feel like it's too mature. It's definitely one of those scents that's not for everybody. I find it very unique. I find it addictive, very pleasant, very wearable. But it's also one that kind of had to grow on me over time. It wasn't a love at first smell. So let me get into describing this scent. As I said before, this is a very complex fragrance. It's very hard to describe this scent. But I'll do my best here after spending a week with it. One of the biggest things that stands out to me about this fragrance is the green note. The green note in this is very unique. It's basil, and honestly, if somebody sprayed me with this, I'm not really familiar with kitchen spices, so I doubt I would say basil, but if I was, I think I would make the connection instantly. Like, in other words, when I smell this, and if I were to go smell basil in the kitchen or like a basil plant, I would definitely 100% see the connection here with that. Like, it's very much so basil green, and the green note is also very fresh to me. Like, it's a very fresh, lively basil. It's not something like ground up basil kitchen spices. It's not giving me that. It's giving me more like basil plant inside of a greenhouse. So it almost is like you're in a greenhouse full of basil plants, and it smells really good. It really does. It's not like you're smelling basil like, oh, you're in some kind of weird kitchen smell. It's more like you're lively in a basil greenhouse. And I think that that greenhouse effect is part of the mineralic quality of this fragrance, which is the next stage I'm going to talk about. The mineralic quality of this is really fascinating to me. And yeah, almost the mineralic quality of this kind of contributes to the idea of like water in the air somewhat. Like the basil is fresh, and there's something that's making it super fresh. And if you think of like going into a greenhouse, you almost get that mineralic quality in the air when you take a smell of it. But that's not really where it stops for me. I really analyzed the mineralic quality in this. I read online that people say metallic, and I'll be honest, I just don't really know what metal smells like, but I do get memories of things that are industrial. So I feel like I can make the connection to metallic because whenever I walk into like a nice bank or like a really nice office space, there's almost like this smell of the room. And I call that like an industrial smell. You could also say that that's metallic, but really I would say this almost smells like a basil plant in a greenhouse with that mineralic watery effect inside of a really fancy office. Like, it's really weird. That's why I said, to me, this stuff's really niche, and I hope I'm painting a decent picture for you guys. I'm trying my best here. But that is the top and mid of this fragrance. And honestly, it's one of those fragrances I spray and it's just super fresh, super bright to me. but there's also the base, which is very thick, and honestly, it's a bit funky. This is Akigala wood. I believe it's Akigala wood with an Ambroxan combination. I don't really think Ambroxan, I just saw it as a listed note. And the base of this is really unique to me, so it doesn't feel like it's just straight up Akigala wood to me. It almost feels like Akigala wood with a bit of something else, contributing to a bit of this almost funkiness that I personally, like the first time I sprayed this fragrance, it kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Like I totally got what people meant when they said Bish Fish. The perfumer of this, Quentin Bish, uses a lot of Akigala wood, and Akigala wood is an aroma, like a note that kind of rubs people different ways. That's something I've noticed throughout showing fragrances to people, trying different fragrances. People kind of perceive Akigala wood in their own unique way. And some people perceive it as almost like a funky, fishy smell. And I get what they're saying. It also can kind of make me think of almost like a form of cumin or something. It's almost like this resinous, thick, dense smell. This part of the fragrance is the hardest to describe. This is the hardest to describe, is this funkiness that I get. Because if I describe it to you the way I've been describing it, it sounds terrible. It sounds disgusting. It really isn't that bad, but the first time I sprayed this fragrance, it kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And the more I've worn it, actually the more I've become addicted to it. And honestly, that funkiness, it really only lasts for about the first 10 to 20 minutes for me. But that's like the first 10 to 20 minutes. This really fresh basil, mineralic office feel, like a professional basil plant, mixed with a bit of this hard to describe funkiness. That's almost like an acquired taste. Like at first I didn't like it, now I kind of do. But after about 20 minutes, what happens is that funkiness kind of dissipates, kind of goes in the background, but it also is still there in the sense that it's kind of making the fragrance really bold and rounded. It's almost a fragrance that has this really fresh, bright, mineralic basil plant thing going. And the funkiness, the Akigala wood, it's not as funky after 20 minutes. Instead, it's kind of just making the fragrance smell dense and thick and like substantiated. The other thing that I noticed in transition is there's a bit of a sweetness that starts coming in. And the sweetness, like I thought of ways to describe it, but pretty much anytime I'm hit with something that's green and sweet like this is, it makes me think of relish. It's just sweet with a basil green freshness with a bit of this mineralic thing going. And it has this heft to it, like this depth and heft. Now at this point, I always really liked the fragrance. So the first time I tried Bois Imperial, it was always like, every time I wore it, it was like survive the first 10 to 20 minutes, survive that funkiness, get into the deep dry down. And I always really liked this part where it's just kind of like this beautiful, fresh, mineralic green with a bit of this really nice sweetness and something that gives it a lot of heft. The vetiver note starts coming out to me more in the deeper dry down, and it honestly just reminds me of Tom Ford Grey vetiver a lot. Like once my brain made that connection, I started feeling like this is Tom Ford Grey vetiver turned into a niche fragrance, turned into something artistic, added like with a bunch of added layers. Like it's Tom Ford Grey vetiver if you were to add in basil, mineralic smells, and a bit of this hefty, sweet character to it. And it's just, that's how the vetiver note smells to me. So in other words, the vetiver note that comes in, it's not earthy, it's not dirty. Like when you think of a typical vetiver fragrance, it kind of has that dirt smell. Not with this, it's a very clean vetiver and a very neutral one. It's not earthy at all. It's just like the Tom Ford Grey vetiver. It smells just like that to me. But it also continues with the layers of basil, the freshness, with the heft and sweetness. And in this point, the fragrance kind of just stays the same for me at least, and just kind of tapers off over the course of about 10 hours. This stuff is a powerhouse. In other words, I really feel like 6 sprays was overdoing it, but I really wanted to gauge the reactions of people around me and get a feel for the scent. But I feel like this is one that you at most need 3 sprays of. It's very strong, it lasts the whole day. And I feel like that's one of the things I really like about this, because it's actually pretty fresh. I feel like I couldn't really wear it in like super high heat. But in the springtime, this is like a freshie that really performs, and it has this niche quality to it. And wearing 6 sprays of it, what was the reaction of people around me? Absolute compliment getter. Like people seem to really, really like this one. And I think it's one of those ones that I like it off the wrist, but when I would get wafts of it walking throughout the day, I would like it even more. So it's like one of those things, like in light doses, this comes across with that mineralic, almost Tom Ford gray vetiver thing. And it just hits like a really nice wisp. Like I really like the way that this smells. I understand why it gets a lot of compliments. I do. And I mean, throughout the week, my affinity towards this fragrance grew, and my feelings at the beginning was kind of more like, oh, it's kind of weird. Like, I don't know. I don't really totally get it. Like, I liked it. I always did. I appreciate the artistry here. I appreciate how well it was put together. I really liked it. Don't get me wrong. But towards the end of the week, I grew to really love it. I feel like my nose acclimated to the fragrance, and just smelling off my wrist, because I had a tolerance for it and developed some natural nose blindness, was kind of like the equivalent of smelling it at a distance. And I just feel like this is one that at a distance smells better than up close if you stuff your nose into it. And so at a distance, what do I get from it? Or like when I built a tolerance, I get a very clean, classic, manly fragrance that has this sparkly, like the mineral almost gives this sparkly 3D effect. And it feels like something else, but it feels so wearable, and it just feels so manly and classic. Now, people will compare this to Ganymede a lot, and I have both of them. And I did take one day to wear Bois Imperial on my wrist and put Ganymede on my arm and kind of do like a comparison. And to me, I see the connection here. Like, they both kind of have that office smell I was talking about, like that industrial office smell. Like, I definitely see the connection there. But I feel like outside of that, they're pretty different. Like, I feel like they're different enough that someone could love one and be underwhelmed by the other, or be put off by the other. Like, I feel like they're pretty different. And if you ask me which one do I like more, like personally, I feel like that's a very apples and oranges question. Like, I could see why somebody would prefer one and why somebody would prefer the other. For me personally, I feel like Ganymede kind of digs at the artistic niche thing even more, makes it's more weird, it's more different, it's more unique. Also, I kind of find the Ganymede to be a bit fresher and brighter, whereas this, I kind of find it more appealing, more wearable. It's a bit sweet. It's not as bright and fresh as Ganymede. So like the differences between these fragrances mainly is this Ganymede, I kind of get this really fresh leather smell. And with this, I get a basil, green, lightly sweet Tom Ford gray vetiver thing. But I feel like they're very different fragrances. That's just my personal opinion. Do I feel personally that it would be redundant to have both? I kind of don't, really. But at the same time, I do feel like they have a similar use case. Like, anytime that I would go out to wear Bois Imperial and I was looking for that type of scent profile, I could easily wear Ganymede and vice versa. So maybe they're redundant in the sense that they kind of serve the same purpose, but the scent profiles to me are different enough that if you really like this style of DNA, I can see somebody owning both of these and really just enjoying both at different times. I would imagine Bois Imperial would be better on a spring day, going outdoors, being in the sun kind of thing. Whereas Ganymede might be better in a more cold setting, like being in an office space or something like that, or just wanting a more contemplative, interesting, unique scent. But I do feel like Ganymede's the more challenging one. For one, it's definitely, it doesn't have anything sweet or green or familiar about it. It's more alien. And for two, I feel like there's almost like a curry cumin thing going on in Ganymede, especially in the opening, that almost puts me off more than the opening of Bois Imperial ever did. So what's my overall opinion on Bois Imperial? Like, of course, by now I've kind of glazed this fragrance, spoke really highly of it. I think really highly of it objectively, and I honestly just feel like this is a great fragrance. So forget the money. I know like it's a good price for what it is, but I feel like it's a great fragrance regardless of the price. Like, I feel like if this fragrance came out of any other bottle, even an Amouage bottle, I'd be just as impressed by it. So I'm impressed with it. And I also feel strongly that this is one worth sampling. I do feel like it's a very risky blind buy, but I feel like no matter how far you are down the niche rabbit hole, Bois Imperial is something else. Regardless of what my friends say, this is just my opinion. This one is one of the ones that took me by surprise as being something unique, something wearable, something that almost induces this really clean, foresty, meditative state, very calming, very masculine. So I feel like it's one 100,000% worth sampling. And I think it's not blind buy safe because I don't know how the aroma chemicals are going to rub you. Could rub you the wrong way. I'd also say this is a very mature scent. Like, I always got this grown business vibe. Like, it's a green scent and it's not playful to me. It leans definitely more on the serious side. Definitely kind of has a formal tone to it. So I almost feel like a young guy who's into more casual, lighthearted stuff might be put off by this scent. But I still think it's worth sampling. I think it's an absolute great fragrance. That all being said, I like it a lot. I like it a lot, but it didn't really, I never got that feeling of being so over the moon about it that it's like a must have for the rest of my life. Like, it was never that for me. And with how I do this channel, I don't accept free bottles. So I buy and sell fragrances, and I'm really careful to not keep something unless I absolutely am over the moon about it, because I don't want this channel to become a justification for developing a fragrance hoard. I don't want a fragrance hoard in my house. So this isn't a top 20 of all time, but a lot of things are not. So that's not saying a lot about it. But when I really sat there and thought, why is this not a top 20? It's so great. It's so good. I don't know. That's a hard question to answer. I almost sat there and thought, maybe if I just had more time with it, maybe if it was like something I revisited occasionally over the course of the next year, eventually I would have that aha moment that I never really had this week with this fragrance. Like, eventually it would hit, but it didn't hit this week. I got to keep it moving. And if I had to guess why it didn't hit, I just have a lot of things that kind of serve a similar purpose for this. I have a lot of office scents. So it was never a thing of like, oh, there's a perfect use case for this that I don't already have. It didn't really outperform a lot of my other office scents. And in the niche category, artistic, just didn't feel like something, I don't know. It didn't feel like something that really challenged me enough either. So it was in this weird box, and not being the best office scent, not being the best artistic scent. I love how it's a perfect blend of both and sits somewhere in the middle. But it never really, like, I felt like, oh man, I need to wear this to work. I need to wear this to the gym. And I never really felt like, oh, I need to spray this on my arm and contemplate and get the feeling of it and just wear it in my house alone either. So maybe that's my best guess. As you can tell, I'm like stumbling because I'm a bit confused, because I'm not really sure why I never had the aha moment with this fragrance. But it just never happened for me. So if I were to summarize the vibe that I get from Bois Imperial, I would say I get three aspects to how it made me feel. Definitely calm and meditative, almost like being in some type of garden or some kind of hipster vibe to some extent. With that, I got this serious tone. So it didn't have this juvenile, young hipster thing going on. It almost had this grown, serious vibe. And on top of that, I got this interesting smell. Like, to me, it was one of those scents that anytime I wore it, it just kind of had this really interesting feeling to it. I think that's attributed to the notes of basil, some of the funkiness and addictiveness to it, and the mineralic quality was just all really interesting to me. But overall, the feeling I got was always very grown, very professional, somewhat more formal of a fragrance. But it also had this kind of close to nature, almost hipster thing going that really prevented the fragrance from being way too serious.
All right. Is it recording?
Yes.
Okay. So we have Bois Imperial. Or how you say Bois Imperial.
Tell me it's Bois Imperial.
I
I don't know what it is anymore.
I don't know. Let's see what it is. Ooh. Okay, so my first, I don't know if it's because it's not dry or whatever, but first impression is like super like dry wood, like dried woody. But there's something also really like sharp about it. Almost like a citric wood, and it's dry. That's my first impression of it. I think this would work really good for casual moments, but maybe if it's like out in the heat somewhere and you wear this, it could turn into like a funk. You know, like not necessarily smell good, but turn into like a what's that smell moment. As it dries down, the sharpness of it is starting to kind of dissipate a little and turning into like a more soft, woody scent. I like it. It's not my favorite masculine scent because it is different or more particular.
Niche.
Definitely niche. If you're looking for something that smells like nothing else, then I think this would do it. But if you're like focused on just smelling good, maybe stay away from Bois Imperial. So for all of those things, I'm going to give it a 6.
This is dry down.
In the dry down, it becomes way more florally and nicer. So that's good.